Welcome back. We are looking at misunderstood Quranic verses, and the verse we're looking at is from chapter 9, verse 51. Dr. Shabir, the verse says, "Say, naught shall befall us, save what God has written down for us. He is our Lord, and upon God believers do rely." So this is the Edward Henry Palmer translation, Dr. Shabir. So tell me what's so misunderstood about this verse.
So this verse is cited by those who want to prove that everything is predestined, everything is written down, and everything is going to happen exactly the way it is written down. So the verse says, as you've read it in the English translation, let me read it now in the Arabic. قل لن يصيبنا إلا ما كتب الله لنا هو مولانا وعلى الله فليتوكل المؤمنون. So literally it says, say, the believers are being told to say to the others who are scoffing at them, nothing is going to befall us except that which is already written for us. God is our protector, and let the believers put their trust in God. So this seems on the surface to reflect the predestinarian view. Yeah, everything is written, it's going to happen to us, like things happen to us, it's already written. But in order to understand what is going on here, we should distinguish between three types of futuristic events that God has written down. So let's take event type 1, a type of event that must necessarily happen. It's going to happen, no fail. So God has written down that this thing will happen. So then it has to happen. No power in the universe can thwart that. Let's say event type 2, something that is impossible to happen. God has written down that this thing will never happen. So let's say this believer will not die by the bullet of the enemy. So no matter what enemy with what bullets, they cannot kill this believer because God has already written that to be impossible, and nobody can go against what God has already prescribed as an impossible event. A third type of event that God has written as a conditional type of event, which means it may happen or may not happen depending on what God's creatures choose and what God decides finally after he sees the choices of his creatures. To me, many events are like this, and that is what ensures the free choice of humans. Now, going back to
Can you give me an example of how the third circumstance would play out?
The simplest example would be to say, if this believer, if this person believes and does what is right, I'll put this person in paradise. If this person disbelieves and follows a life of denial of my messages, then I'll put this person in hell. Okay, so this is a conditional type of event. It's not like this one is written for paradise and this other one is written for hellfire. Each one is conditional. For the same person. The same person could be like, God is writing for this person. If this person believes and does what is right, I'll put this person in paradise. If this same person disbelieves, denies my revelations, and follows a life of sin, I'll put this person in hellfire. So that means where this person is going to end up is conditional. And of course, there could be many other, this is the biggest, outcome, right? But there could be many smaller outcomes which are written in a conditional way. If this, boy goes to this college, maybe he'll meet that girl, and then, if he marries her, they will have these children. If he goes to this other college, he'll meet this other girl, and if he marries her, they will have these other children, So all of this, to imagine everything that God knows about the future, when we think about all of these branching of possibilities, this is mind-boggling to us. But in our faith, this is possible for God. When in this verse, the believers are being told to tell those who are scoffing at them because they suffered a mishap. So they're saying, you see what has happened to you. Just say to them, look, nothing is going to happen to us except what God has written. And he's our protector anyhow, and we put our trust in him. So that's a simple message. Now, it should not be extrapolated from this to mean that that everything that is written has to happen to us, because those conditional events may or may not happen, depending on what we choose, depending on what God finally decides. So to put it in a different way, as we all know the adage, every square is a rectangle, but not every rectangle is a square. right? It doesn't work the opposite way. So if something is written that it must happen, it will happen. If something is written that it cannot happen, then it cannot happen. And if something is written that it may or may not happen, then it may or may not happen, depending finally on God's judgment. And of course, that judgment will be influenced by our choices. So the things that befell the Muslims then, they befell because they were already written, either as something that has to happen or something that could have happened. And we don't know which is which now, because we can't see into God's records to know which ones are which ones are possibilities and which ones are decided events. So if something happens to us, we can say, okay, maybe it had to happen. God wrote that for us, and let us just accept that and move on. But that does not kill our spirit for the future to think that, everything is just simply going to happen exactly the way they are written. No, because the future has many open possibilities, things that God has written for us as possibilities that may or may not happen, depending on whether we choose them and depending on whether God finally gives the decision to clinch that as a fixed future event.
Mm-hmm. Why, Dr. Shabir, do you think it's problematic if we say that everything is written already?
It's not problematic to say everything is written already. But what we should say is that all of the possibilities are written already.
Okay.
So when we read that, things are written, we should say that, okay, they could be written in three ways. One is that something is written as a fixed and definite future event. It must happen. Two, it may be written as something that is an impossible event. It cannot happen. And three, it could be written as a possible event, which means it may or may not happen. So a lot of things are written in this way. They are future possible events. They may or may not happen. It's all written, but the fact that it is written doesn't mean it has to happen. If something, whatever happens, we can be sure this was written, but not necessarily written as a definite fixed event that must happen. It could have been written as a possible event that may or may not happen. It happened, and we know it was written. Or if it wasn't written, it wouldn't have happened. But the fact that it is written doesn't mean it has to happen, because some things are written conditionally.
All right, we'll leave it at that. Thank you, Dr. Shabir.
You're welcome.
Assalamu alaikum. Welcome to Muslim Media Hub, the new home of Let the Quran Speak.
Here we spread positivity and good. We help people experience the beauty of Islam and help them appreciate and understand Muslims.
This beautiful building we purchased at cost $2.3 million.
Yeah, we've already raised a third of that money, and with your help, inshallah, we can pay off the rest.
So we're looking for people who can give $1,000 each. If you can be part of the select group, that's amazing.
Otherwise, just please give whatever you can. Every dollar counts.
It's our collective responsibility to share the message of Islam with our fellow human beings. Please help us continue this good work.
It's a sadaqah jariyah, something that will continue to be a benefit to the Muslim community long after Safiya and I are gone.
Please support our work at muslimmediahub.com.
Your support is zakat eligible and tax deductible.
May Allah bless you and your loved ones today and always. Assalamu alaikum.
Assalamu alaikum.